The village ended where the trees began. Every night, the forest edge transformed. While the rest of the valley slept, the deep shadows between the oaks ignited. Golden lights flickered into existence, moving with a precise rhythmic pulse that defied the erratic dance of fireflies. Luna stood at her window, pressing her palms against the cool glass, watching the horizon. The legends told by the elders warned of a beast, a creature that claimed the woods as its own, but the warnings held no weight compared to the sight of those golden patterns. They were not random sparks, they were a signal. Each pulse seemed to pull at her, a silent heartbeat echoing from the dark timber. She stood motionless, ignoring the distant sounds of the village, her focus anchored entirely on the shifting glow. The forest was no longer just a barrier, it was an invitation. She traced the path of a single light as it drifted deeper into the gnarled branches, vanishing and reappearing in the gloom. The silence of the night was heavy, but the lights were breathing. She knew then that the stories were incomplete. The forest was hiding something, and for the first time, she felt the urge to stop watching and start walking. The sky turned a bruised purple, and the first thunderclap rattled the window frame. Luna pulled back from the glass as the wind began to howl, lashing rain against the shutters like gravel. The house felt empty. She checked the hearth, the kitchen, and the door, but the market trip had taken too long. Her father was not back. Panic flared, sharp and sudden, but she forced her hands to stop shaking. She grabbed the lantern from its hook, checked the oil, and struck a match. The flame took hold, casting a steady yellow circle against the encroaching dark. She threw open the heavy oak door. The storm hit her like a physical blow, cold and relentless. She stepped off the porch and onto the muddy path, the deluge soaking her within seconds. She didn't look back at the village. She looked toward the forest edge. There, cutting through the wall of rain, were the golden lights. They were not drifting. They were pulsing in a desperate, frantic rhythm. Help! The cry was thin, barely audible over the roar of the wind, but it came from the deep timber. Luna gripped the lantern handle until her knuckles turned white and plunged into the darkness of the trees. The forest floor was a trap of tangled roots and slick mud. Luna kept her lantern low, the light barely cutting through the dense, oppressive canopy of gnarled branches. Each step required immense effort as the ground pulled at her boots. The golden lights drifted ahead, weaving between trees that seemed to lean inward, blocking her retreat. She pushed through a dense thicket of thorns, and suddenly, the air went still. The trees fell away. Before her stood a structure of impossible scale. Jagged stone towers rose like sharpened spears, tearing through the roiling clouds above. The castle windows glowed with a rhythmic blue pulse, a steady, mechanical thrum that vibrated in her chest. A heavy iron gate stood slightly ajar, the metal groaning as it swung in the wind. She stepped over the threshold, the temperature plummeting instantly. The interior smelled of damp earth and ancient, stagnant magic. She stood in the vast silence of the grand hall, her heartbeat deafening in her ears. Then, the silence shattered. Boom! The sound vibrated through the floorboards. Boom! It was heavy, deliberate, and getting closer. Boom! Something massive was moving in the dark, and it was coming straight for her. The massive footsteps ceased. Silence returned to the hall, but it was thick, heavy, and suffocating. Luna held her lantern out, the light trembling, casting long, frantic shadows against the damp stone. From the deepest recess of the hall, a hulking shape detached itself from the gloom. It stood 8 feet tall, a mountain of muscle and fur that seemed to absorb the light. Luna forced her feet to stay rooted to the floorboards. She watched as the creature stepped into the flickering glow. It possessed the power of a lion, the lean speed of a wolf, and the towering presence of a stag. Massive antlers branched out, scraping the vaulted ceiling, casting jagged silhouettes that danced like claws. The creature moved with a predatory grace, silent now, its heavy breath rattling in its chest. 2 amber eyes ignited in the dark, burning with an intensity that pinned Luna to the spot. The beast loomed over her, blocking the path back to the gate. It did not roar. It simply leaned into the light, its gaze fixed on her. Luna felt the floor vibrate as the creature shifted its weight. She gripped the lantern, her knuckles white. The beast lowered his head, the massive antlers casting long, shifting shadows against the stone walls. She looked past the creature to the rhythmic pulse of the hall. The golden lights that had led her through the woods were here, too, embedded in the architecture, pulsing in sync with the creature's own heavy breathing. They were not a trap. They were a trail, a map designed to bring her to this exact threshold. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow. She unclenched her fingers from the lantern handle, the metal slick with sweat. Her pulse slowed, matching the rhythm of the hall. She was not a victim of a legend, but a participant in a mystery far older than the village stories. She took a single step forward, the sound of her boot echoing against the cold floor. The storm continued to lash at the castle exterior, but inside, the air felt charged with a different kind of energy. She looked up at the towering silhouette, her breath steady, and her resolve hardened. The unknown was no longer something to flee from. It was a threshold to cross. She walked toward the center of the hall, leaving the safety of the past behind.